The Sabbath, God, Yahweh, established it himself from creation. God established the Sabbath from creation. Before sin, before Israel, God gave the commandment. As a command, we say at least before the Old Covenant. Old Covenant being done away with doesn't affect commandments. Old Covenant doesn't mean automatically that all commandments are done. We still have commandments. How do we love God? By obeying his commandments. 1 John chapter 5. 1 John 3 verse 4. Breaking God's commandments. Or sin is the transgression of the law. And if we continue to sin deliberately, then the wage of sin is death. If we continue to sin deliberately without repenting, the Sabbath has not been abolished in the New Testament. I've shown that Romans 14 is talking about not the Sabbath, but eating and drinking, fasting days, other special days, sacred days, not God's holy days. I showed that Colossians chapter 2 is not chastising the Colossians for observing the Sabbaths or eating and drinking, but rather Paul was saying, don't let anyone judge you when you're eating and drinking and keeping the Sabbath. Don't let them judge you saying that you shouldn't touch, you shouldn't taste, you shouldn't handle, because those things are meaningless. So I showed that Colossians 2 does not abolish the Sabbath. And finally, I showed that Galatians is 1. Gentiles not formally returning to any Sabbath days that they were keeping, but they were returning to the principle of trying to justify themselves through works.